You're listening to the Real Estate Entrepreneur Podcast with Terrence Murphy, where we cover sales, investing, and entrepreneurship with an emphasis on real estate. Each podcast, Terrence and his guests will bring you informative and inspiring information within the real estate industry.
Welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Entrepreneur with Terrence Murphy. I start off with a quote, and this one's short. It says, resources needed to accomplish the plan must be allocated. These resources are money, time, and people. So you're not going to scale without money, time, and people and process. So as we jump into this show, I have a guest today. He was just telling me he's in the Caribbean. Marshall Wilkinson was featured in the Business Insider, Yahoo Finance, Fox News, and Fox Business. Marshall's company has dominated the NYC construction scene, and he has closed and negotiated more than $2.5 billion in contracts and sales. Marshall is also a sales and negotiation expert and coach. Welcome to the show today.
Thank you, man. Great to be here.
Yeah, man. Tell me your story. I mean, we're going to really dive into negotiation. We're going to dive into how to set up and make sure that's, your strategy involved. Because some people think negotiation is just you're receiving it versus setting it up. And I've always seen it as a chess play, right? It's like playing poker or cards or whatever. So I'm excited to talk about that. But tell me your story, man. Just give me a snippet on who you are, how you got into real estate, and how you became, involved as a real estate entrepreneur.
Sure, man. Absolutely. Great question. So my name is Marshall Wilkinson, and I've done over $2.5 billion in deals in New York. I got into real estate. My family business is contracting, construction, development. So I got into real estate kind of as it being a cousin to the main business, and our main business was us being developers and contractors. And my first foray into real estate was multifamily right from the jump. Mm-hmm. And I got into it simply because as an owner in a construction company, at the end of the year, we had tax considerations. Instead of taking owner distributions, we took that money and we put it in real estate deals, and we did that over and over and over again for about a decade. And so it's funny, as we're on a real estate entrepreneur show, and I have a lot of real estate, I'm actually a construction and development guy that kind of just got into real estate because he had some money that he didn't want to pay Uncle Sam.
Which is usually how it works.
That's how it works.
Yep.
So from there, that's how I got into it. Then I started a private equity firm, and we've been buying multifamily and riding this wave.
Sweet, man. Yeah, I think it's a quote, 92% of most of the millionaires, made their wealth through real estate. So, like you said, and that's one of the things I'm always trying to teach people on this podcast. And it was a simple notion that I learned years ago when I read a Robert Kiyosaki book is we have to have a career, and then our money has to have a career, and you had your career in construction and development, but your money's career became real estate, right? Multifamily and acquisitions and things of that sort. So let's talk about that. What was your first deal, your first development deal or first multifamily deal? Walk me through how you kind of taught yourself or structured it, because I always like to glean some wisdom from that early on in your career.
Yeah. Well, I was very fortunate that the first deal that I ever was in was almost 100 units. And it was because I followed the lead of some of the owners in our firm. I followed their lead. They kind of let me into the group, so to speak, once I became an equity holder. So I had some money coming to me. I had a couple $1 million coming to me already. And so, these guys were already buying multifamily. The company was creating LLCs and purchasing multifamily. And so as I kind of entered the group as an equity holder, they kind of opened a kimono and let me in on the deal. So my first deal was in South Carolina for, I think it was just under 100 units. So my first deal, I was already in a couple million, and I was already playing in the NFL, so to speak.
Yeah, you jumped right to it.
I jumped right into it, man. I skipped it. You have to understand, before that, all I really did was just construction. So I was a very good salesperson, negotiator. Mm-hmm. Negotiated great deals. We made a lot of money as a contractor, and that was my life as a contractor, builder, fighting with the city of New York on large municipal projects. And then once I became an owner, then that's when I had some dough. And once we had some dough, then that's when I got into the game. And I was fortunate enough to get into the game at a higher level. I didn't start off with single family homes. I went right to the league.
That's awesome, bro. Congrats.
The structure is very simple. I mean, it was essentially a GP structure.
Yep.
And we were LPs.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just done that and continued that since then.
Mm-hmm.
I don't make it complex and sophisticated at all, unless I have to take on foreign money. Then I have to bring it in, and I have to create a blocker and all that other kind of stuff. I don't know how familiar you are with that, but
yeah, very familiar.
It's a very simple process.
Yeah, I have clients in Dubai and in Colombia and things of that sort. But for my audience, though, like if I'm setting up my first syndication deal, right?
Yep.
What is a GP? What is an LP? What's the structure? If we're just kind of walking it through, like here are the 5 steps you need to set up. Here's kind of some pitfalls that you need to keep an eye on when you're setting up your first syndication deal.
Sure. That's a great question. So for your audience, a GP is a general partner, LP is a limited partner. So a general partner is the partnership is the company that actually does the transaction. And that company is made up of limited partners. Those limited partners are the investors in the company.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you, though, what I believe is the biggest pitfall that guys who are looking to syndicate deals fall into is I think that they look for the deal first.
Mm.
And I do it the other way. I get the money first, then find the deal.
Wow.
So I think the most important thing is making sure that you can secure the money, because I guarantee you, man, if you can get the money, you will be able, if you're committed enough, be able to find the deal. And most guys do it the other way around, because the hardest thing for them is to find a deal. You've heard this common conventional wisdom in real estate that if you have a great deal, the money will follow.
Mm-hmm.
That's just not true in my life. I never had like, hey, I had the greatest deal, and all of a sudden money came and fell out of heaven onto my lap. No matter how great my deal was, I still had to make a pitch,
mm-hmm.
and I still had to talk to a guy with money and make it compelling and convince him to say yes. So I look at it the other way. Let's tee up as many family offices and investors as we can. Let's figure out exactly what kind of deal checks all the boxes for them. And then based on that, based on the guys who are ready to stroke a check, then we go into the market they're looking for. And then it's my job to kind of shake the tree to see what I can get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time that looks like off-market deals.
Yep.
And that's really what I specialize in, off-market deals, and basically getting creative in the art of the deal in order to kind of backfeed the commitments that I was kind of just making with investors, if that makes sense.
No, that's good. So Marshall, when you kind of set up the family offices, set up these high net worth individuals, these accredited investors, they have different titles, right? Do you just get verbal commitments? Do you have them, hey, we're going to go ahead and cut you a check that you hold in an escrow account? Kind of walk me through that, just generically, obviously, but.
Yeah, sure. No problem. So what I do in the beginning at Saxum, when we started syndicating, I'd get a verbal commitment from these investors that they would at least look at my deals.
Yep.
I'm calling them and open up a line of communication and let you guys know what we do, what markets we're looking at, and here are the deals that we're going after. So we go after diamond properties. I'm not looking to, create the Yankees. I'm looking to buy the Yankees.
Mm.
My assets are the Dallas Cowboys. I want something that has been demonstrably over a period of time cash flowing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to upset that apple cart. So that's a really attractive offer to conservative investors. However, how can you get a guy who has a goose that keeps laying a golden egg to give
sell
it to you? Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's where the creativity in the deal comes. And I'd much rather be in that position where I'm talking to as many owners as I can that have great assets to see how I could work a creative deal where I could then get a piece of this thing and bring in my investors, rather than get a deal and then go to all my investors and this is a dog with fleas.
A fixer-upper or something that you're trying to...
Fixer-upper.
Yeah.
So that would be step one. So to answer your question about, the funds and everything,
mm-hmm.
I'd first get them to at least answer my call.
Yeah.
And then based on that, then I'd go out and I'd get a deal. And I'd put an OM, I'd underwrite the deal, I'd put an OM together, and then that's when I make my pitch and I do my thing.
Mm-hmm.
If they're interested and want to be a part of the deal, they will sign a contract. And in the contract, we'll have a date of funds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that it will be the date that the money has to be wired.
For
and
sure.
If that doesn't occur, there will be a penalty.
Yep.
And that's how and that is how I, solidify the investor dollars.
No,
that I know that on this day I'm going to get it.
I love it. Because you're going in, like you said, with bird in hand, right? And then,
Yes.
You can be more aggressive on certain deals because you already got the backing.
Bingo.
Yeah.
That's the point. So I just feel like I have altitude going into these deals, knowing that I have firepower.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as I have firepower and my investors know what I'm doing, this is all transparent. This is an open book. I let these guys know, listen, now that I have an open line of communication with you, and now I know exactly what you guys are looking to buy and you trust me, I'm going to go out and I'm going to bird dog deals and bring them back home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So even on certain deals, like there was a deal that we had to do in Middletown, Connecticut. And that's a $50 million deal. It's like 200 plus units.
Mm-hmm.
And that deal was $50 million. There's no way that thing was worth $50 million. It's a $43 million deal all day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But my investors knew that in order for us to get the goose that lays the golden egg here, 50 was the number.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't actually want to pay 50. So we had the owner come back and be a debt partner.
Mm.
So I made the owner look like a star. He could pay off all his investors, but at closing, he writes me a check for $7 million. So the purchase price is really 43, our actualized purchase price. And and we had an agreement with him where he was a debt partner. We paid him, and he still had the upside potential of this thing.
Wow.
So then after we paid off his debt, he converted to equity, and he still had the deal.
Wow.
So it's the only way I can get him to shake this thing and to give it to us.
Yeah.
So because I come from a background of negotiating, I use that strength that I have in order to get really great diamond properties, AAA deals that I could go and backfill with investor money. And I think that's my value add to family offices and other investors out there. That's what makes me different than the other guys.
Bro, I love it, man. I got to make sure we got enough time. We're finna dig into this. This is awesome.
Yeah, sure.
So when you talk about like those crown jewel type properties, because that's what I'm buying too. We just did a deal in Orlando that was right at 200 units. It was 44 million.
Smart.
That's
the play, in my opinion. Who wants the headache of a value add? And this is coming from a contractor.
Literally. Same here. Yeah. I've been a contractor for 14 years. We got a lot in common too. Yeah. So when you say class A or crown jewel or these AAA, because I say the same thing, bro. I've never heard somebody say AAA towards multifamily. You hear it around commercial, but not multifamily. So I think that's pretty cool. Because even when I do commercial, I'm AAA rated tenants. It's Starbucks, Chipotle, Buffalo Wild Wings type, companies. But when you say AAA for multifamily, walk me through, is it a certain amount of units? Is it a certain location? Is it certain, demographics? Is it, household income? Kind of walk me through your one pager for a class A. For a class A,
it's all of the above.
Mm-hmm.
So so location is huge. The demographic and the renter makeup is also huge. And the support services around it are big for me.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm the type of guy that would love to follow around a Whole Foods and a Starbucks.
Yep.
I mean, they have the best teams in the world. These guys have all the information and data that you could ever get your hands on. They make the best decisions when it comes to real estate.
They do.
And so why would I reinvent the wheel?
Correct.
So, I feel like, Bezos is a little bit smarter than me in certain things. And if his team is going there, well, I want to check out, I want to sniff out what he's doing.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, don't forget, in my opinion, aesthetics.
Mm-hmm.
As a contractor, I can walk a property and I can smell the bones on it if this was done right or not.
Mm-hmm.
If this is cheap or if this is a really a well-constructed building. Or buildings or campus, so to speak, and it looks nice, then I'll call that class A.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really, it's funny that you asked that question. I'm kind of the determiner whether what class it is or not.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this is a class A diamond if I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to make a compelling argument to why I think it is, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, typically a class A on face value is easy to identify. It's a diamond property. It's new. It's not worn in. It's aesthetically nice. It's in a great area, and the renter base are, doctors, lawyers, and nurses.
There it is. Yeah.
Those are going to be your people, like especially that deal in Middletown.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
I was going to say, is there a certain amount of units and price point you like to stay in these class A diamond properties? Is it like, hey, 25 to 50 million, 150 units to 250? what's that kind of criteria that you like to look for? And then what's the cap rate that you like to be at?
Exactly. So I would say 100 units or greater. I mean, that would be ideal, but definitely nothing less than 50 and a 5 to 6 cap.
Yep. That's strong. And like you said, you got to get so creative. So let's talk deal flow. Because I want to save the crown jewel of the conversation to the end. I want to talk about the negotiations at the end. I want to drag it out before we get to that point, because I know it's it's a lot of good info there. But on your deal flow, like you said, off markets, do you start postcarding? Do you pull a list and have an ISA team start calling people? How do you create deal flow without obviously giving out anything proprietary? But how do you create deal flow for these multifamily off market projects?
No, great question. I absolutely will open the kimono. I have no problem, because I don't think anybody's going to do what we do.
There you go.
You're going to do it at the level that we do it at.
Mm-hmm.
I have CoStar. I find an area, and it's a full on assault on the phones. Starts on the phones and emails. If we have to show up, we will. If I got to write letters, we will. I identify a property that I want, and then I'm on it like a hornet. That's what we do. I have a team of guys on the phones making those calls, jostling for position, seeing if we could get somebody to bite. And if they do bite, then I'm willing to go to distance with them and see if the deal makes sense. And obviously, if it makes my short list, then it checks all the boxes for my investors.
No, I love it. And
that's the most important thing, that it checks the boxes for the money.
Yep.
If the money is right and this is what these guys want, then I'm going to do everything in my power to see how I can get that deal done. And I will tell you, and to all the listeners, owners are more malleable than you think, especially if they can get a payday, if they can pay out investors and then still come back in the deal to get the upside. I mean, that right there, what I gave you, that is the game. That is it.
That's it.
If I can make it appealing where he can cash a check, pay his investors, get his investors kind of out of his life, so to speak, that they're happy, that they got their money back and they were receiving cash flow the whole time. So he's a king. And then he gets back in my deal, gets paid. Probably I'll make him as a debt deal. Like I explained in Middletown, that's like one of my main moves. Convert him into equity, and then he gets a part of the deal, and he still continues to have the upside potential. And I have no problem doing that and diminishing my equity ownership in order to facilitate that, to make my investors happy, because I want to keep going back at that trough.
Man, I love it. Wow. So we were doing that in Texas with a lot of the ranch owners, where we would buy the ranch and then we figure out a way to make a limited partnership, keep them in the deal from an equity standpoint, and then go and develop it into a master plan neighborhood. So you're doing the same thing with a different twist in the multifamily space. I love it, man.
Yeah, man.
I love it. So when you think about an investor, so let's say you and I are talking, I'm a high net worth individual, and you're telling me about a deal. When you talk about your track record, right? Because you have an amazing track record with multifamily private equity. With the current market, where it's at, is it hey, Terrence, right now we're looking at this thing a 3 to 5 year hold, 18% internal rate of return. Kind of what are those little bullet points and those sticking points, or those checkpoints is probably a better word, that you like to be at if you're going to, now that we've got past aesthetics, it's Class A, the location is there, the cap rate now, what are you thinking hold time, cash transaction? What does that look like?
Well, on these deals, at least a 5 year hold.
Yep.
No question about that. At least a 5 year hold, 6% cash on cash pref, and then obviously a waterfall after that based on how well we could run the asset. And if you're looking over an ROI over a period of time, that is going to vary. But I think it's funny, we're talking the same language. You're right in there. Over 10 years, you said 18%.
Yep.
Is that what you said?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, right there.
Yep.
Yeah, right there. It's interesting, when you do underwriting, calculating that when you calculate that curve in your OM, the rate of return, it's very difficult. It's tough.
It is.
Everyone says that, in this world, about 18, but have you experienced that?
On that Orlando deal, we're north of 18, but man,
think about it.
Yeah, it's tough though, because
you are okay. Yeah, that's good.
It's tough. Like just in the last 4 months, brother, I wrote 16 offers on assets that are 25 to 60 million. And it's been, each one of them have had like multiple offers. I've made best and final like 4 of them. and we only got one asset. It's so competitive right now. Like you said, you got to get off market deals.
And these are all on market, what you're talking about, right?
On market, or you know how a lot of these brokers, because I'm a real estate broker, they bring it to you right before they go to market, and then it ends up being a shit show. Forgive my language. There's 18 offers on it. But yeah.
100%. I don't want to compete with those guys, man.
Yep.
They all know each other. They're all in a game that I felt like I was coming late to the game. I almost feel like they don't like me. I'll just be honest. I feel like the world that we run in, we all kind of know each other.
Yep.
And I just feel like they don't like me. I'm coming from a construction background. I'm a New York straight shooting guy. I know that's how I am. I retrade on deals. I'm a highly aggressive, and I just feel like I'm going to lose.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't want to play that game, and I don't want to pay Marcus Milicek.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I don't want to deal with that. So I want to go, let me go out and hunt, and I will get the deal, and let me bring it back to my people. And so my investors love me because they have a dog.
Yep.
And I'm the dog. Send me out. I will bring the deal back. I promise you. Just give me some time.
Bro.
And we're going to have a great deal.
We got a lot in common.
So I can't buy properties like Cardone and these guys are just buying. I mean, every day that guy's buying something. He's killing it.
Yeah.
That won't be me. So my acquisition rate will be smaller, no doubt, but my portfolio it dominates.
Yeah, it's top notch. Yeah, man, I love it, bro. So let's get to the crown jewel of the conversation then, right? So now that we found these deals, right? You got the ISA team, you bird dogged it. Yeah, like you said, You're a dog. I always say I'm a wolf, man. I'm gonna figure out a way. You know, I say drop me off in the desert, I'll figure out my way to the water every time.
Beautiful.
So once you get these sellers on the phone, because like you said, if they respond and they nibble on it, let's talk about negotiation. You've been an expert and a coach. If you were going to coach me, you got a thing called ALP. Let's talk through that, and then let's just dive into that conversation.
Sure. So ALP is a method that I developed. So I've been coaching salespeople and entrepreneurs, real estate agents, realtors, and really anybody in the sales world for probably about 3 or 4 years now. And the only reason why that has happened is because I've started to show my life and everything on social media, and I would go live while I would actually negotiate and do deals.
Make sure I'm following.
So that's how I grew my social media following. I'm like the anti-coach. I'm like the guy calling everybody who says to the mat, you show me that you really are that guy, that you've done it out here in the real world where it matters. I'm like a rapper calling everybody out. It's true. That's like my personality, because I got 2.5 billion in deals verified.
Yes.
You know, before I ever got in front of an Instagram thing.
Yep.
You know, so I kind of opened a kimono, and I had people come in, and I start coaching them. And one of the things is I have to figure out how to name this thing that I do, my angle of attack on how I close deals and negotiate. And so, you know, I figured I put it together. The 3 silos, basically, the 3 main points of what I'm constantly thinking about while I'm putting deals together. I'm trying to convince somebody to say yes, right? Is altitude, logic, and pressure. So I named my method the ALP method.
Mm-hmm.
And so altitude is just that. It's coming into a deal as an expert. You have to know your stuff. You cannot fake the funk.
Mm-hmm. People
will smell that very quickly. So if you don't know, go to YouTube University, man. Figure it out. Like, you know, I feel like if you want to be at the top of your game and be a top producer, there is no way around of actually knowing your stuff.
Yep.
So that's altitude. And it's obviously building self-confidence and self-esteem is also going to give you altitude. And without altitude, you cannot get a deal done, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Because no one will believe that you are the person that will fulfill the obligations and promises you're making to the other party if you don't have altitude. So that's the number one thing, is altitude. The next thing is logic. And all of my in negotiation and in closing and all the word tracks and strategies that you use, in a deal, it has to be logic based. Logic does all the convincing for you. It's self-evident. Remember this: the more you justify something, the lower your altitude becomes. Like my dad would tell me, hey, we're contractors. He'd say, hey, clean this up, man. Put the tools in the truck. And there was no conversation. He never justified it. Listen, the reason why, Marshall, is I need you to do something good. No, do it, right? And he had the altitude. So the more you justify something, the less your altitude, right? So if you're not using logic to make your points, because logic does all the explaining for you, man. Let me give you an example. I deal with realtors all the time, and somebody will say, oh, well, I already have a realtor. And then a realtor would just break down. They don't know what to say. And I always tell them, listen, let me ask you a question, man. What's better, one wheel or two wheels? You don't have to say anything else. He knows what you mean. The logic convinces him. He's like, oh, shit, that kind of makes sense here. What you saying here? Listen, dude, you got one realtor. Why don't you get 20, bro? Yeah. Why don't you get every realtor in the air? And why don't you get 100% full video of the marketplace? Why are you sticking with one, man?
Yep.
All right. So that's logic. I don't have to do any convincing. I'm not lowering my altitude. So logic heavy, and then pressure. Pressure makes diamonds, dude. Pressure is not a bad word. Anytime I've ever done anything great, it's been under duress. I mean, man, you're a stud. So, working out to get strong, you got to put pressure on those muscles, man. To get somebody to do a deal, I've never been in a position where it was just comfortable and okay. I always had to put the pressure on somebody, man. And when I say pressure, I mean it with dignity, professional. I don't mean insulting a guy and berating him. I mean, asking him to do the thing. Wow. Hey, listen, man, if it was the right thing to do, would you pull the trigger and do it? Of course you would. So why are you adding time to this one? Like putting the pressure on the guy. And I'm really good at that. And so that's my method, altitude, logic, and pressure. You put those together, dude, you'll be a superstar.
Love it. Yeah. Like you said, some of my best real estate deals, I put the pressure on them and the pressure on me, Yeah. And so it's like.
Definitely, man. Yeah. Lead from the front. Don't pressure people if you're not going to get pressured, man.
For sure. No, I love it.
If you don't put pressure on yourself, then you'd be a hypocrite, man. You won't be a great leader at all.
Yeah. Dude. Yeah. That's big, bro. I love it. Yeah. I love it. Well, I got a couple questions, man. I want to dive into some of these, if you don't mind. We call this the coming in hot section, and you got to answer them. We've been doing like a 40 time, like we're racing. So I'm telling you up front, because my last couple of guests, they were like, you didn't tell me it was going to be a race.
Oh, so, bring it on, man.
Yep.
Hey, can I just say one thing, before we start this thing?
Yep.
Is it okay?
Go for it, Marshall.
Because you asked me about negotiating, and I just wanted to say, for the benefit of everybody listening to this, just take it from me as a guy who's been negotiating since I came out of the womb. I've been listening to negotiations from my dad in the family business. I will tell you that in a negotiation, there's a winner and there is a loser. There's one guy who got what he wanted, and there's another party that thought it was a fair deal. So I want everybody to understand that when you guys go into a negotiation, please be prepared, have an outcome. Negotiation is not something that should be taken lightly, and it is not something you should do ad hoc and on a whim. Okay, so the way I view negotiation is very, very much how a fighter views another fighter. I set traps and I bait the other side. So when they take the bait and they fall into the trap, I hit them with a crushing and devastating counter. And that may sound like maybe not PC, but at the end of the day, you need to get what you need to get out of a deal for your family and for your business. And negotiation is a no holds barred thing. And don't, since we're running out of time, we're going to do this lightning round thing. Don't take that lightly. I wanted to say that.
Man, we got a lot in common, bro. This can't be the last time we talk for sure.
Okay, absolutely, man. My pleasure.
Because I say the same thing when I'm coaching agents and people that are on my organization. Like, you have to compete. Even when we were in practice, you compete with yourself first, then you compete with your teammates, and then you obviously get to play the game and compete against other people. But it's a competition. It doesn't mean you hate that person. It doesn't mean you're trying to hurt them. You're just trying to win.
That's right.
Point blank and simple. And I think some of the greats like Kobe and guys who had that mentality, see, people couldn't wrap their mind around Kobe. They thought he was an extremist, but there was a reason why. He wanted to win. And you carry that same energy, bro. You got that same spirit. I love it.
That's it.
So coming in hot, man, I'm going to throw 5 questions at you. I'm going to start the clock right when I ask the first question. You're going to answer it one word or one sentence. You ready, brother?
You got it.
All right, so do you have a college degree or no college degree?
I have one.
Okay. What's your greatest challenge as a child?
ADD.
All right. What was your first attempt at entrepreneurship?
Shoveling driveways.
Love it. What was the worst real estate or entrepreneurial advice you ever received?
Oh my God. That you need to save money.
Yep. And who is the one person who made the biggest impact on your career?
My dad, by far.
There it is. 34 seconds, bro. You're number one. You're number one. Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah, man. You're number one, bro. So we're going to close with a couple more questions, man, and then we're going to get out of here. A couple more. What is the one thing that should be on people's radar that may not be on their radar for the real estate industry?
You mean go forward now?
Yeah, like today, like, hey, this is coming, or hey, this is a tool, or what's something that's not on people's radar that
I'll tell you what I think that everyone should be doing and they're not really doing effectively is they need to be building their personal brand. I don't really see them doing that effectively. A dance on TikTok is not building a personal brand unless your brand is to be a clown.
Correct.
You need to be a competent person that people believe can take them to the promised land. Build your personal brand in real estate. It'll be the best thing that you ever did. I know people talk about it, but I really don't see people doing it in an effective manner.
I love it. So if someone, because I've had people ask me all the time, if I don't have the time or I don't have the skill set to do it on my own, do you hire somebody? Did you put a team in place to help you with that kind of stuff?
No.
So you do it all yourself?
I wake up at 3:30 in the morning, bro.
Man, I love it.
Down by 10, up at 3:30, and I'm rocking. And then I roll all day. And there is enough time in the day if you don't waste your time and you get after it.
Yeah, man. Well, that's what I said about TikTok. I refuse to get on TikTok. I'm still fighting a good fight, but
yeah, me too. I'm not on it either. And I'm like a hypocrite here. I'm not on it, but I am on Instagram and I am on YouTube.
Yeah, me too. I just don't want to do all the dancing and stuff. I'm like, am I selling real estate or developing and buying multifamily? Am I dancing? Am I Michael Jackson or what? What are we doing here? So
yeah, no doubt. No doubt. I'm with you, brother.
Yeah, we got the same thought process. All right, so what's the secret to good time management for you?
I break my day into 15-minute blocks. I've been doing that for a long time.
Time blocking. I'm always talking about it.
Oh, really?
I do. I literally just did a whole training session on time blocking. Literally.
Yeah, that's it, man. Listen, if it don't fit in the 15-minute block, somebody else has got to handle this thing. Otherwise, maybe it is a meeting that has to take up 3 or 4 15-minute blocks.
Yep.
But I'm trying to get it done in a block.
There it is. There it is.
Anything you need to tell me, you can tell me and get done in 15 minutes. I don't need 30, 40 minutes on a call, bro.
There you go. And what's the secret to good branding, which I think you already hit?
Secret to good branding?
Yep.
I'm still trying to figure that out. I mean, I would imagine, man, just being out there and upholding excellence. Everybody's brand should be, in my opinion, brother, everybody's brand should be a brand of excellence.
There it is.
Of competency, a serious-mindedness, especially when it comes to real estate, as a person who won't let you down. That should be your brand. Uphold that. Be emblematic of it.
Wow.
Don't fake the funk.
Man, literally my core values to my brand is EPIGH, EPIGH. And the E is excellence. And you just said that as your first word. So I'm telling you, bro, we got a lot in common, man. All right. So last couple questions. Yeah. So everybody has a moonshot. That means, man, we're shooting to the moon with this. This is a dream, a goal, or a vision. So what's your one dream or goal or vision that people think is impossible, but for you, you feel it's going to be possible? What's that moonshot? That's a great question, man. I'll tell you, thinking about that right now, probably not dreaming. I'm not dreaming large enough. Nobody in my life tells me I'm crazy. Maybe it's because I got just a history of a track record of getting a job done. Yep. But yeah, man, I don't have one. I mean, I really love my organization, ALP, that I put together. Yep. And growing that, maybe even, worldwide. But that's an awesome question. I learned from you today, bro. Yeah. I need to dream. Yeah. And I don't have one. That might have been why God put us on this podcast, bro, for me to challenge you in that area, because you're special, bro. I want you to know that. Here's the thing. Obviously, I've been traveling through sports, but I've met a lot of real estate professionals, a lot of developers, high net worth individuals, family offices. Man, you have it, brother. You got something special, man. I want to remind you of that. Thank you, brother. Yeah, you're different, bro. And then, so you recommended a book, The Art of the Sell. Why did you recommend that book, and what has it done for you?
I recommended it because I wrote it.
I know. Get that plug, bro. Get that plug real quick. Where can we get the book, and tell us about it?
Okay, well, I'll tell you right now, you can't get the book unless you come to my organization and you get coaching with me.
There it is.
That book is not for sale, man. That thing is like high octane. I need to walk you through that thing. It has been all the lessons that I've learned and gleaned over my years of business. And it was a great time during COVID to sit down and really get it all on paper, or I should say word processor. And that's exactly what I did. And it's everything from, it's all of my core beliefs and philosophies about how to be an example in an industry, how to be excellent, how to commit to being great, and then take a person you never met before and turn them into a customer. There
it is. So final thoughts, bro. What do you want to leave our audience with on the final thoughts? And then where can people find you?
Okay. Well, I'll tell you, I probably would answer that differently if you didn't ask me that moonshot question. Because I got to tell you, dude, in my life, I always got all the answers with everybody. And I don't have the answer to that question. That's it. You put me on my back foot. So if I was going to leave the audience with something, I'd say, listen, man, we all need to be dreaming bigger. Mm-hmm. I think that's probably my biggest regret is I didn't go bigger. And for many guys, they say, hey, $1 billion, $2.5 billion in production is pretty big. Well, imagine how much I left on the table, man.
Yeah.
So I would say that to everybody. I think that I need to take a piece of my own medicine. Yeah. And if you want to find me, I'm Real Marshall Wilkinson on Instagram, and I'm Real Marshall Wilkinson on YouTube.
Love it, bro. Hey, man, thanks for your time. Great wisdom. We will connect again. Our paths will cross. We got too much in common. We're both doing, $1 billion stuff. And so I say, no matter who you are, whatever industry you're in, if you do $1 billion in anything, you've done something special, bro. So congrats to that. And let's stay in touch. I appreciate you, brother.
Absolutely. Pleasure being here.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you.
All right.